This is the plaintiff, Kim Morris. She says the defendants rented her an apartment, which was unlivable, so she refused to move in. When she asked for her money back, the defendants told her they'd already spent it on something else. Bottom line, the defendants seemed like the nicest people at first, but looks can be most definitely deceiving. She's suing for $3,700. The money, she's out. These are the defendants, John Schultz and John Schultz Jr. John Sr. says he has no idea why the plaintiff had a sudden change of heart about moving into the unit they were renting. Seems like she's the type who isn't happy about anything. It's actually humorous what the woman's now suing them for, because she's the one who had the fiduciary responsibility to move into the place and did not. They're accused of ticking off a tenant.
Yes.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiff says the defendants rented her an apartment, but it was such a disaster she didn't move in. And she got stiff to boot, by the way. The defendant says she's just a big complainer. It's the case of You Make My Belly Ache.
Thank you, Douglas. Kim Morris, you are suing John Schultz Jr. and 7 South Atlantic Street Corporation. Your landlords for $3,700 that you say they owe you and refuse to pay you. What is going on?
Well, Your Honor, what happened was I found the apartment on Craigslist, and it was listed for $13.95. I met John Schultz Jr. at the apartment, and the apartment was damaged. It looked pretty bad. It was I don't know. He said the last tenants left it a mess.
Okay.
So at that point, I asked him if we
I'm sorry, what area was this in?
This was in Bayshore.
Okay, and was Bayshore affected by Hurricane Sandy?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
So I was very, I needed a place to stay. So I agreed to clean the home. First, I told him I would get a cleaning woman, which he didn't let in prior to the first of the month.
Okay.
So on the first, when I found out that he wouldn't let anyone in to clean, I told him I would clean if he would pay me.
So how was he going to pay you? What were they going to do? Rebate the rent? Like let you pay less rent, or?
Well, he was going to give me cash at first. And then once I gave him the month's security, the month's rent, I hadn't taken it out of there. So he said, don't worry about it. He'll start to take it off the rent once I did move in.
Okay, and how much?
It was supposed to be $100 per day.
$100 per day?
Yep.
Okay, go on.
And so, anyway, after I cleaned the house, it took me about 6 days to clean the place. I started to speak with
How big is the place?
It's not that big. It was just.
Why did it take you 6 days to clean it?
Because it didn't look as messy as it was when I first looked at the place. When I first looked at it, it looked okay. It just looked like it needed some cleaning up. But once I started to clean, there was things coming from everywhere. I mean,
you're gonna have to be more specific.
Behind each radiator in the home, there was big, large amounts of garbage. There was black mold.
Do you have pictures?
Yes, I do.
May I see it?
Sure. They're on my phone, so I'm just gonna put it.
Okay. How small are they? Oh, it's not
bad.
Okay, when you agreed to clean and move in, what changed? Because you decided you weren't going to move in.
Right.
Okay, but you agreed that you had agreed to move in, and that's obviously why you're there cleaning. And then what happened? What changed?
Well, the agreement was for the rent to be $13.50 with a year lease. Probably about the third day I was there cleaning.
Why isn't a lease getting signed before she's in there?
Because I was agreed to go in there to clean, not to move in until things were taken care of.
Were you leasing to her from the first of the month or no?
Yes.
So why didn't somebody hustle and get a lease before the first of the month?
We did produce the lease. She wouldn't sign it.
Why wouldn't she sign it?
She wanted a year's lease.
And what had you provided her with?
A month to month.
Okay, and was that a mistake or?
No, that's what we give month to month. She doesn't have any security. She just gave it first and last.
So you had never intended to give her a year lease?
No.
All right, then she said, I'm not signing that unless it's a year lease.
Right.
And you say?
I said, well, she took the key and started cleaning.
I guess you had some of her money, you figured, let's see if this works out. All right, so what money did you have? At that point, you had the security deposit, which is $13.50.
We had first and last, ma'am.
Oh, first and last, that's what you had, first and last.
Yep.
All right, so now it's day 6 when you decide you're not gonna keep the place?
Actually, I spoke to them before. I spoke to them on the 4th, and I told them, you know, if you're not going to get me the lease that I'm supposed to get, I'm not going to take the place. And also, if you're not going to be here to fix any damages, because there were other damages that needed to be fixed. Like under the kitchen sink, it looked like the pipes were leaking really badly, which there's photos of that. And also the refrigerator, the wire was completely cut and split in half. So things like that had to be done. And I told him I would not take the place if these things weren't done. I also explained to him that...
Wait, but it was a 4th. Like, what made you think they weren't going to be done?
Because he kept telling me he was coming there and he would take a whole day and do the work, John Jr. I would come, I'm going to do the work, and he would never show up.
Okay, let me hear from you in response.
The whole apartment was painted, Your Honor. When I showed it to her, it needed paint. We painted the whole apartment. There was a little fray in the wire refrigerator, which I told her I'd get to it. She didn't turn light on, so she had no power. So I wasn't going to rush there and fix the refrigerator, that there was no power. She didn't put the meter in her name yet, so there was no power for the refrigerator. So I was going to get there as soon as I could. As soon as she had power on,
I mean, the place is kind of filthy, because I'm looking at the pictures. It's not like she's making that up.
Right.
So how much were you going to pay her for cleaning?
She said $200. I would take it deducted off the rent for her.
$200?
$200, yes.
Okay. Not $100 a day.
No, it's a 2-bedroom apartment. It was a $200 apartment. All the walls were painted. It just needed a little stove, whatnot, refrigerator.
Okay. So what day did she say, I don't want to live here?
I believe it's a week. A week had transpired.
What caused you to say, I don't want to live here?
Because I noticed that he was standing me up several times. He bought over a lease.
Did you stand her up?
No. I said, okay, call me as soon as light is on. I'll come there and, get it all straightened out.
Okay.
How am I going to fix the refrigerator? There's no power. How am I going to know it's even working?
For when there is power. But anyway, I guess it'd be hard for you to tell.
How am I going to know it's
working? Okay, so then what happens? On what day do you decide I don't want the place?
Around the 4th. I have text messages showing.
Let me see the text messages. Oh, they're in here.
Yeah.
Okay, here's from you. Not to bug you, but if the landlord is interested, I know a cleaning lady that will clean the apartment spotless for around $200, including supplies. She works locally. I notice the place needs a real good cleaning. Is it possible? I will ask him. Who is this who you're texting with?
I was texting with John Jr. I never knew they were related in the beginning. He was saying he worked for him.
I forgot and gave you the full amount. So the $200 for cleaning you can deduct next month. So why are you suing for $600 for cleaning?
Because it was only 2 days that I had cleaned in there. So he said he would give me the $200.
Really? It's not that the plan was that you'd get $200 for cleaning?
No, it was not the plan from the beginning.
That's what it looks like from all your texts.
Right,
That's what it looks like from both texts that I read, that it was $200 for cleaning.
That's if I was going to get the cleaning lady.
What if you take 10 years? Will he pay you 10 years of...
No, it wouldn't have taken that long.
No? I don't know.
No.
Okay, so this tenant wants to turn this $200 credit into a $600 credit. Does that hold water?
No, shouldn't be $600 to clean.
How much does it cost to clean an apartment? A regular apartment.
$20.
How much?
200.
That's what I think. Going inside the courtroom.
Here's what I know, and here's what I need to figure out. All right? First of all, you clearly agreed to take this apartment and clean. You cannot complain that it was dirtier than I thought. I thought I could clean for $200, but now I've changed my mind. It's dirtier than I thought. I've changed my mind. You could change your mind because you haven't signed a lease. But you have repeatedly said in your complaint, I never moved in. I never moved in.
I wouldn't move in.
I never moved in. You don't seem to understand what the contract is. The contract is you agree that you're going to move in and you're taking the apartment. That's the contract. Now, if they did not get you on... No, listen. If they did not get you to sign a 1-year lease, what kind of contract do you have? You have a month-to-month, which means you could change your mind after a month. But what do I do with the week you've already been there? You have in your possession, at that point, $1,350 for the last month and $1,350 for the first month. My understanding is that you returned the lion's share of all that. What did you return?
Here on
okay. Checks. So you returned the $1,350 for the last month. You wrote her a check. And then you returned $825 of the first month. So you didn't even charge her for June. You just charged her whatever the difference is. You charged her $525 rather than charging her $1,350 for the month of June. Did you re-rent it in June?
No, ma'am.
Okay, so you ate the rest of June.
Yes.
Okay, and you're suing why? Because you want not just $525, but $3,700.
But I never told him I was going to move in there.
I don't know what you're talking about. I just read your text. You did move in. You took the apartment as of June 1st. Let me tell you something. Let me tell you what happens 99.9% of the time. That side returns the security deposit or the last month's rent, because you didn't have a security deposit, the last month's rent, and that side returns nothing of June. Nothing. That's what normally happens, because it's June 7th when things fall apart. And things fall apart for things that were right in front of your eyes, because it's not as though the dirty place you didn't know was dirty. That was fine. You have a new contract about that. Take $200 off the rent. Everything's hunky-dory. Then you're telling me, well, it's because they didn't fix all this other stuff. And all this other stuff is the refrigerator that can't get fixed until you hook up the electricity.
It's not only that.
What really happened? What made you snap and change your mind?
Not only that, I was told by the neighbors, and I have a letter from one of the neighbors as well, that the home, because no work was done to it, is toxic. The pictures that I show you.
Now we're getting somewhere. You changed your mind because you were worried that the home is possessed by toxins, because a neighbor said the home may be possessed.
Well, not because
okay. Did you ever have the city come down and look at it and declare, because then you're home free?
No, but during when I was cleaning, as you can see in the photos,
so you're suing for the 525. There's black mold in the apartment?
Yeah, it's in the pictures.
Okay, let me see
it's in the
it.
pictures.
Okay.
You have the phone still, or oh no, I have it.
This is a second floor apartment, ma'am. It never got wet.
And Your Honor,
How did you come up with the figure for what to pay her back?
I was going to give her half a month. I thought we were going to re-rent it, but we never did.
Okay.
And plus this cleaning.
Where's the black mold?
It's all along the windowsill. It's a little hard to see in those photos because I had started.
All right, guys, I think we're done. I am not going to order them to pay 6 days when every single text you showed me says you agreed to do it for $200. Okay. I'm not going to order them to pay you pain and suffering. And I am not going to order them to pay you the balance owed from first month's rent, because you're deciding to leave is a situation where they could actually have kept the entire month's rent.
Understood, but I never moved in.
It doesn't matter. There are consequences to making agreements, even if they're verbal.
It wasn't
and this is
an
a consequence of making that agreement, which I can see from all of your texts. My verdict is for the defendant.
Thank you, Your Honor.
You're welcome.
Your Honor.
Well, the plaintiff's coming out. You don't look too much the worse for wear. How did that go?
It didn't go the way that I was hoping it would go. I mean, I still feel like he owes me money. The place was disgusting. It's still toxic.
Judge Emilian lives for pictures of black mold and garbage and stuff, and your pictures just didn't live up to expectations.
I guess they're not as bad as...
Maybe the evidence doesn't back up your story.
I believe it does.
All right, right down there.
Thank you.
Okay, that's what she believes. What do you believe?
Well, I'm just glad it's over, and she has another apartment.
Mm-hmm. How tough was this hurricane?
Pretty tough,
on you landlords.
Pretty tough, but that unit was never. It's the second floor.
Mm-hmm. Why'd you give her back more money than you had to?
It's just a.
Did you know?
Yes.
Harvey?
Okay, Kurt, if you rent an apartment and it's not done yet, if it's in work in progress, make sure the landlord writes down exactly what you're supposed to get when it's all finished and you move in to avoid disputes like this.